Actor Mark Wahlberg is finding his religion on film. The Boston native plays a real-life California dreamer in the new movie Father Stu. He stars as a washed-up boxer whose attempts to woo a woman ultimately lead him to the priesthood.
I figured it out.
Yeah, seventh time's a charm.
I'm being an actor.
Oh, God.
Mark Wahlberg, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So I'll ask just a general question to start. What drew you to the story?
Oh, God, Father Stu was such a remarkable character, such a colorful life. I mean, it really is hard to believe that it's a true story. If you think about kind of the beginning of his journey to where he ended up, but I just felt very inspired by it.
When you look at your own life and career, did it track what you saw he went through, coming from sort of this rough and tumble life to finding religion and making it a core of who he is?
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, even his, attempt to make it in Hollywood.
What brings you here?
And I figured no better place to be discovered than the supermarket. And finding his purpose and seeing when he really found his purpose, how powerful he became. Here's a guy who everything early on was predicated on his physicality. And then when that started to deteriorate, his spirituality soared.
There's no easy way to deliver this news. You have a progressive muscle disorder. The muscles weaken until they cease to function.
Because really, he was now being utilized for the greater good of God.
Your son is about to make a huge mistake.
I'm gonna be a priest.
For Halloween.
When you look at how religion came into the picture for him and for you, I mean, that's one of the things I found interesting about this, is that there is this nuance to it. The person you wouldn't expect, the person who uses the language that you wouldn't expect for religion finds it.
Yeah, well, God looks for the most unlikely of people. And it's not, I don't think it was my choosing, or I don't think it was Stu's choosing. I think Stu was chosen. And that's why he had such an impact in a short amount of time. Because people knew he had real life experience, and he was very credible when talking about facing adversity and all these different challenges that people were facing and helping them cope in those situations.
What you guys get, one phone call a week in here? Who you gonna call, huh? When no one else gives a what you got to say, God does.
How do you use it today, religion?
Oh, it's my anchor. I mean, it's kind of, it's the thing that keeps me grounded, keeps me focused. I start my day every day getting on my hands and my knees, expressing my gratitude, and I ask for the strength and courage and confidence to do what I'm supposed to be doing and recognize where I should be doing more. And then, of course, with all of my reading and scripture and stuff like that, and then I work out, and I'm usually pretty tired by that point, but I also feel like, okay, I can kind of make it through the day, especially with 3 teenagers and all the other stuff that's going on in my life.
How do you feel about being able to talk about it and express it? I mean, religion, people have so many perceptions about religion today.
Well, again, for me, it's really not so much about the church as a whole and the church and the rules and the establishment. It's about the guy who died to build it, and the sacrifices that he made for us, and the promises that come with living a devout life and really doing the right thing. And so that gives me peace and comfort, because I've dealt with a lot of loss, I've seen a lot of pain. And so, how we cope with those things, and certainly how Stu did, I found very inspiring.
What about the time in which this film comes out, where obviously the world is terribly beset right now, and this is a time where a lot of people turn to things they might not have otherwise done before, like religion?
Yeah, I think it's nice to see audiences from all walks of life come in and really have the same reaction. They're all touched by this movie in a personal way. They can all relate to identify with Stu in some way. They're all dealing with very difficult things and things that we've never dealt with before. So it's nice to have people leaving the theater feeling really optimistic about the future and on an emotional high. And then also leaving with that challenge that Stu poses throughout the film, is that we can all just do a little bit more, whatever our part is, to kind of identify that and just contribute a little bit more. See the good in people, really seeing the good in people.
I was struck by the director's comments that humility, that surrender is core to who he was. I mean, how do you see that, and what does that mean in this age of hyper-masculinity?
Well, that would be, you would certainly should ask her that question, but I think, for me, it just goes back to the serenity prayer. You definitely control the things that you can, and you let go of the things that you can't, and God wouldn't give you something that you can't handle. But yeah, I think Stu, the way he dealt with everything with such dignity and grace was amazing.
We talk a lot about process on Open Studio. You gained 30 pounds for this. This is an age of CGI. You could have done that or prosthetics. So how does it help you as an actor to go through that?
Well, we always try to do things practically. I mean, we did use some enhancing makeup and stuff like that, but you know, it was just such a part of Stu's journey. And again, I mentioned it earlier how everything was predicated on his physicality, but he was just a guy he was a boxer, he was a football player. He was always kind of beating back the world and trying to you know, fight everything that he was confronted with. And then when he realized that none of that mattered, you know, it was mattered what was at the core and who he was as a person and his heart, he became really like such a powerful tool for God. It was amazing. I was just up in Helena, Montana, to hear all the stories and see all the people that he touched. You know, it was remarkable.
All right, well, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Pleasure.